Finally, after 2 years, New Mutants hits the theaters. And was it worth the wait? Well, you're just going to have to wait until after the intro to find out.
Bigger Food Entertainment.
So New Mutants hit the theaters yesterday, and I was very excited to go see this movie. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. It took 2 years, almost 2.5 years, for this movie to hit the theaters, so there was a lot of anticipation for it. The fact that it was a superhero movie with horror elements really had my interest, and I was very excited to go see this movie. Now, as I went to go see this movie, I tried to keep my expectation low because it was delayed for 2 years, but at the same time, I'm a horror movie fan, so I was like, I want to see what they do because I like superhero movies too, as well, right? Like everybody else does. So I was like, okay, this movie's gonna be good, or at least it looked like it was gonna be good from the trailer. So it starts off, and we see Daniel Moonstar. Something happens to her family. I won't get into anything because I said this is going to be a non-spoiler review, but she ends up getting put into an asylum with four other mutants. And in this asylum, they're trying to assess their powers and trying to see what powers each of these mutants has. Now, this movie was a superhero movie with horror elements, which is one of the things that really drew me to this movie, which had me saying, I want to see this movie. I'm a big fan of horror movies and I'm a big fan of superhero movies. So you put the two together and I'm like, you got me. But to be honest with you, I found this movie pretty boring. The first act of the movie is slow. The second act is where things start to pick up and you see certain things start to happen in the movie without going through spoilers. And then the third act, it all goes to hell. Shit basically hits the fan. But for me, the first half of the movie was just like, oh my God, like when will we get something going on? I know there's a lot of character development in the movie, which some would say is a great thing in movies. And I agree it is. You want to get your characters developed, you want to understand them, and you want to care about them. But at the same time, you don't need to have character development and sacrifice an entertaining story. You can have both. And that was my issue with the movie. A lot of things to me I found forced, like the relationship between Wolfbane and Moonstar. I found that absolutely forced, and it did not need to be in the movie. And one of the big issues that I had with the movie is that the horror elements of this movie were not scary or were not creepy at all. And if you're a horror movie fan, then you'll understand what I'm actually talking about. Just remember that this may be the first superhero movie that intertwined these elements together, but it was done before, and Swamp Thing did it a lot better. Is the New Mutants the worst X-Men movie? Absolutely not. And I'm looking at you, Apocalypse and X3. But for me, the end of this movie was very underwhelming. There's a whole build up to the third act of the movie, and when it comes, I'm just like, meh. So, with the pandemic and the things that are going on in the world today, if you can only choose between one of the two movies that came out this week, I would definitely say go see Tenet first because Tenet is very entertaining, at least more entertaining than this movie was. You may be a little bit confused with Tenet, but you'll definitely walk out of there saying it was an entertaining ride. Now, for me, I will give a New Mutants a rating of 5 out of 10, which probably equals to like a C minus. That's my rating for it. You can agree with it if you want to, or you may not agree with it. And that's okay because we all have our own opinions. Movies are subjective. And for me, this movie just didn't do it for me. So hit the like button, comment in the comment box below, and let me know what you think of New Mutants because for me, it was just meh. So with that being said, thank you for checking out my latest episode of On the Clock. And like I always say, peace, I'm out.